Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Danae, and I'm here with a message for you. This is where I stop shuffling at the bottom of the deck. Three of Cups, celebration, reunions, collaborations, perhaps some joyful expression of togetherness. So it seems, we hope that's the vibe, right? And I also have a good cup of tea here next to me, and my tea bag says, "Be fearless, know that all will be provided at the right time." Okay, so on that note, let me take a little sip. And let's get it going. No, I also feel guided to just give it a quick little 1-2. I shuffled these very well earlier, but just to give it some new life. What's that? That's the Ace of Wands and the Hermit card going in to connect with your highest power, your greatest power. That's also good. And the Hermit card is still on the bottom of the deck, following your inner light and inner guidance, maybe even way showers, angels, guides, some ethereal essence of guidance leading you ultimately back into yourself, your highest self, for enlightenment. All right, let me push up a little bit so I can shuffle a little better. Here we go. That's a lot of cards. Let's see. Oh, not too bad. It's 3. So we got the Emperor, we got the 3 of Wands, and we have the 5 of Cups. Eek. Interesting. All right, so some prominent power or person in a prominent position of power was an expectation of something. And usually with the 3 of Wands card, it's a high expectation of something good or prosperous, because, the 2 of Wands, which is the card before that, indicates that there was some work or some plan of execution that would put you in a position to expect a return on that investment and that energetic investment. However, it's looking like the return either has not come, did not come in the form in which it was expected, or came in some other form that ultimately has led to this energy here. And then we got the 8 of Swords on the bottom of the deck, which is about an energy being blocked and bound and confined in some psychological way with the sword energy here. So what's this about? Other than the obvious, which is that some power that was or is sent out some work or sent an order out to sent out some expectation on orders for a plan to be carried out, and ultimately was disappointed by it, if not just that lack of fulfillment or failed effort, or again, it just not yielding the results that were intended. And this is given that this was the result that was intended, to keep some energy, some object of obstruction continuously blocked and bound, contained, confined. This is also even a jail card. It could be spiritual confinement or actual confinement, that there was an order that was decreed for this energy to be either placed in this vibration or kept in this vibration for some reason. And Swords energies it's mental, it's also communication, thoughts, again, psychological, you know. Cups can be psychological too with emotions, but when we're looking at sword energy in this sense, and there's even water in this card, and water here, some spilled cups. So yeah, it's definitely a failed attempt at some obstructive opposition. So let's see what else we got. And maybe that Three of Cups was a celebration. And I saw it again, actually. It was Three of Cups, and yeah, it was a Three of Cups, and then it was the Hermit card. And also, these two came out when in the beginning of that shuffle, when I said going within to access divine power and strength and even creativity. That's what all this is right here. And ooh, and the King of Wands is here. So that's a proactive approach to this effort, to just very courageously. And King of Wands is like, you know, he's a conqueror. Like, he's not going to stop until the job is done. And this is wand energy, so it's right in his vein, you know. And it just, to me, says that the pursuit of this power, this connection to an exalted power, because that's what the Ace of Wands is, it's the grandest power you can get, has come by way of being surrendered to the search for the inner soul, you know, being guided by your inner compass in some way. So how does that connect? How does this connect to the Emperor? Let's keep going a bit. I want to see, is this two different people? Because the Emperor and the King are two different dynamics of power, right? And this is a whole new row. And then here's the Temperance card. So I think that that's definitely two different people. But the energy of the Eight of Swords is feminine. So that's the thought that I'm like, where does that come in? Sorry, my tea is really, really good. Well, let's see what else we got. And here is this Knight of Cups and the Judgment card. So there's some judgment call that's been made on some emotional offering or expression or advancement. To make an expression or advancement, let's see. But it's under this Five of Cups, which is curious. I'm doing a terrible job shuffling today. And that was the Queen of Cups. And here these chicks go again. This celebration. And the Wheel of Fortune. Okay. What's that? In another third party situation. So this is like, yeah, just like I thought. That's crazy. And what's that? In the World card, the end of old cycles, yes. Two endings here. This cycle ending and a new beginning, and then the karmic end of karmic cycles and a beginning of a new one. So the vibration is some power that was or is, or whatever you want to call it, was operating was sent out some decree to perpetuate some blockage or even apprehension of power. And this energy haven't come out in the beginning, says that it was a collaborative effort beyond the decree. So maybe he was the one sending out the orders, right? And again, as I said, something didn't go right because there's disappointment here. Maybe the order was against that King of Wands in some way, shape, or form, to be blocked from obtaining, from connecting to, okay, now I'm hearing it. Okay, there was a disappointment, but this was also, oh shoot, I'm seeing it now. This was also the focus, or the objective was to keep that King of Wands in this position of despair and depression and depletion, as well as in that blocked and bound. I feel like that feminine energy is another vibration altogether. And it's representative of, obstructing some union of sorts, which is something that's definitely familiar, energetically right now, that if you can keep at least one of a divine union, if not both, in some depressive state or some spirit of despair, then you can ultimately block and obstruct the union from coming together as a force, one to another, and then collectively so, and what would be keeping them from making an offer on what would be the celebration of what the reunion that I was talking about, that union of sorts. This is the beginning. I feel like this inflection here, with this being more kind of like, I always see this card as either or, like it could be conspiring forces against you or for you, or both, and in most cases it's probably both, because even as an adverse energy might think it's conspiring against you, there, if you're in divine alignment, there's always just as much of a force, if not more, working for you. And that's the energy represented here in a sense. But it could still, even in its own card, be either or, because this came out in the very beginning where I was kind of like side-eyeing it, honestly. Like, is this truly a rejoicing? If you remember, I'm like, we hope that that's what it is. Because a lot of this, collaborative energy has been given like coven vibes or secret society vibes, or just hidden enemies and undercover plots that are not for your highest good, that are actually in favor of keeping you misaligned for your destiny, in one way, shape, or form. And it looks different for everybody, but that's what this vibe has given me so far. That, what happened was, the upset is that the energies that were set to be kept in this depleted stage, in that Eight of Swords stage, where they were blocked and bound and confined to repeat some, cycle of this depression and depletion here, somehow went in. The tables turned, literally. The universal shift has occurred, and that connectivity happened on an internal space, one in which no one that's earthly bound can control truly. See, a lot of adverse interference, even at its most magical and fantastical, by its most magical and fantastical measures, is still no match for universal order. And when the spirit calls judgment on a thing, or when it's time to evolve, if that energy is in alignment with that evolution in spirit and in truth, no earthbound entity can really interfere with that. The only thing that can be done truly and effectively is for there to be a manipulation of the external environment, which happens a lot, because your external environment is your mirror. That's, us being humans and being sensational, we gauge ourselves by what we see on the outside, of course, and that makes an impression on how we feel. And those impressions of how we feel then define our thoughts about ourselves, that Eight of Swords energy, where you're in your head and you're almost in an illusion, but it's self-contained, it's self-imposed even. It can only be when there's an agreement to it, when you are lending yourself to the truth of that illusion, and allowing it to to have value in the reality of your life. When you're lending yourself to the truth of this emotional imbalance and allowing it to make to define who you are. You know what I mean? The way that you feel about your external experiences, whether it be fear, poverty, scarcity, which is also poverty, but you know, feeling worthless, you know, guilt, shame, depression on account of guilt and shame and remorse and unforgiveness, even unto self. All of those energies and experiences are impressed upon us based on our life experiences and can be superimposed from projections of others on the outside end that, you know, have a special brand of magic or manipulation to heighten your senses to it and really kind of point you in that direction. And a lot of times it's people closest to you, like a father figure particularly, which is representative of the emperor here, or someone that exercises some power of control over your environment or makes some grand impression on your environment to be able to manipulate what you see and, you know, project a meaning for you, which means that if you're not in a strong and stable position to see the truth of your circumstances, that although these are 3 cups spilled, that you still have 2 full or hopefully full ones or some promise behind you in the Eight of Swords energy, that you may seem to be blocked and bound, you know, not sure of which way, not 100% clear of what your future holds, or not sure what to do, or, you know, thinking kind of like overly stimulated by negative thoughts, perhaps. If you can somehow get into the soul of yourself, the highest frequency of you that's always calling to you to illuminate the truth and curb all these other earthly experiences, you can get to the truth of your power. You know, you can really get to the value of you, like your most creative self, that can pretty much transmute any of that energy and make something of it. So even, you know, the worst thoughts of yourself can be transposed in a positive light to be a motivation to your journey. The worst emotions about even past experiences, maybe legitimate hurts and disappointments that you've experienced in life, that energy can be transposed so that you can gain a lesson from whatever that loss may be, turn around, and then, you know, see a way forward from that experience, you know, in a more high vibrational sense. That surmounting of sorts that happens in a spiritual way only happens from the inside out, because your environment, the way that we live humanly, is always going to point you in some direction that is skewed from the reality of your soul and your spirit, you know, and that's why it's so hard to get to connect to, because every day in our waking lives, we're constantly being bombarded with projections that don't really have anything to do with us, truly. You know, they come from family, they come from friends, they come from society, they come from media, they come from your culture, they come from religion. They every which way is, you don't even have to step outside of your home. Just turn on TV, turn on YouTube, and there'll be a million different messages sent to you as to how you aren't enough, or you made mistakes, you know, that are irrefutable or unredeemable, or that you're unredeemable for, or that you are somehow lacking some vital source to be whole and complete, you know, like millions of messages all the time bombarding you from this point of influence and prominent projection, some of which are absolutely diabolically sourced, and intended, meaning they are intended to cause harm and to throw you off track, and some that are just, commonplace, that come with the territory of living in this earth realm, that have just almost become a way of life and a way of existence. And that can come through even family and friends that could mean you well, but are projecting a certain energy onto you based on their own experiences. Oh, that was thunder. So anyway, all that to say is what the turning point was, that there was an internal evolution. There was an internal connectivity to source in the highest form that it could be sourced, which empowered some projection of forward movement, and empowered this. How I'm seeing this connection here is that once upon a time where he felt he had nothing to offer, now he's a knight that's, on the move, that's, armed and ready for war, ultimately, that's valiant. The horse is in a forward motion ahead, not necessarily charging, but definitely moving forward. And then there's the cup. He's picked up at least one of those cups and realized what value he had to offer along his journey. And we got the Three of Cups here, which in this case is definitely giving me a either or. It could be reunion, it could be celebration, it could be, the celebration of this progression here, this evolution here of sorts. It could be the celebration of the angels and ancestors, in the highest form, that are grateful that the plot of demise didn't quite work out the way that it was intended, and that the wheel has turned in the favor of the most divine force, as it's looking to be exhibited here. So let's get a couple more, because I'm doing a lot of channeling, not a lot of card flipping. Okay, here is, okay, so this is like blocking. This is interesting, because this is giving me approaching of choices, perhaps. This is giving me being resistant to making a decision. And this Seven of Cups is kind of like confusion or illusion. So maybe blocking the illusions. Maybe that's what that is, because of this internal come from, this internal surrender. Okay, and that makes sense with the Eight of Wands. I'm sorry, Eight of Swords energy, where she was blocked and bound. Now this can be a crossroads energy too, where there's a decision to be made, but there's some either resistance to it or refusal to make a choice. And here are the choices here. But I'm also seeing it as, like not choosing anything that resembles this past experience of heartbreak. Not making any choices. And maybe that's this energy here, or perhaps, I don't know, it could be the feminine energy and this is still the masculine, but there's some resistance to illusion yet again. And that's from this internal surrender, of sorts, that there was a projection. Okay, here it is. There was a projection of illusion, so that this decree that was sent out, the demise that was determined, by whatever powers that be, was that projection of emotional instability and mental instability, to keep energies at this blocked position of choice and decision making, feeling unable, or just being unable to make a wise objective decision for their future, well, for their present even, with there being almost so much at choice here, so much on the table. it could almost make a person feel overwhelmed, and then when you throw in their past experiences of heartbreak, even this energy here, that emotional imbalance, it could make a person reluctant to make any choice at all for fear that they might repeat a cycle. And when you fail to make a decision, it's almost like you're disabling yourself in a sense from moving forward. That was the intention also, so it wasn't really as much of a physical assault as it was emotional and psychological, which is what I kind of said already. And there's that Eight of Swords again. But this is the Queen of Wands, who does know what to do, who is definitely empowered by her own creativity. She can take any energy and do something with it as need be. She's never stuck. She's always confident about her next move. So that was yet another failure of the plot, because and here's the Queen of Swords, also empowered in her truth and in her objectivity. She's definitely not afraid to make a decision that's in her best interest, regardless of what that may imply. And that, again, is another failed aspect of the plan, because these energies could not be kept bound for whatever reason. Well, for many reasons, but most importantly because of the evolution of the human spirit, even as it is now, and just the universal ordinance for, for us to move forward, with the current of even the planetary alignments that are moving ahead. You can't keep a good man down or a good woman down, but for so long. That's not the ordinance here, unless he's willing to be kept down. But this decision to be led from the internal compass and to surrender to the highest power that you can submit to, let alone access from the inside out, is what completely derails a demonic plot, from the top down, literally from the top down, because it has nothing to hold on to. You can't bound somebody by illusions projected or internally when they have released them, when they know the truth of themselves, and they're willing to face even the darkest aspects of themselves and be empowered by all of that truth. You can't really play on somebody's insecurities when they've already shaken hands with their shadow. You can't play on somebody's inferiority or lack of resources when they're in a co-creative position to literally make something out of nothing by the power of their own hands, or even better, by the strength of their own thoughts, just to think it and will it, and it shall be. What demonic entity can attach to that? What are you going to tell someone that is completely sitting upright in the highest authority and strength and frequency of their divine power? This is given from a source that's just intangible, not to be entangled with anything demonic. Okay, so let's see. So that was demise, and when they're willing to choose their higher selves. And this is the energy of the two energies that were coming up between this and the Eight of Pentacles, and the Eight of Swords, and even this Two of Swords here. This is the choice, where there was an obstruction of view and perception and acceptance of divine nature, because there was so much steeped on individuals. Many of us, if not all of us, like I said, we're all, in the most practical and primitive senses, bound by swords that are, an assault to our character, an assault to our psyche every single day, that are literally drawn to betray us and to encourage us to even betray ourselves in our most organic state. But that is exactly what I was saying, where when you've surpassed the illusions and you're not accepting any lies, you're not accepting any delusions even about yourself, you're not drinking any of the Kool-Aid in these cups, you have put yourself in the vibration to be an attractive force for this divine creativity to be magnetized to, and then to magnify you in that same way, even more so. And when you are magnified in that sense from a divine energy, you become that frequency in the earth that is a magnetic force for your match in every way possible, in a co-creative way and in a procreative way, meaning actually man to woman, woman to woman, man to man, however you choose to be magnetized, and also in the most creative sense, professionally and energetically, so it's not just limited to an intimate vibration. It's in every sense of the idea of creativity, you being exalted in the highest vibration that you can possibly evolve to, so that the things that you bring to life in the earth are a derivative of that same vibration, and that's the evolution, and that wheel of fortune that gets to kind of turn over creativity in the land, in the most practical and actual sense, because you'll literally be having high vibrational babies in the physical sense, and you'll be creating high vibrational material in an actual sense, in a material sense, meaning your businesses will be high vibrational and prosperous and productive and impactful to the creative force in the land that begots more creativity, that serves others to be in their highest creative form, that provides a service or resource for others to absorb or inhabit in a way that feeds yet another outlet, and then they can be sustained or exalted in their greatest potential, and on and on and on and on. But this energy here does the opposite. This emotional damage ultimately begots more emotional damage. It's like a cycle of toxicity when two people come together that are just not aligned for their highest good just within themselves. One has hella emotional baggage, and the other one has hella mental insecurities or blockages. Imagine the baby that those two create. You know what I mean? Like, imagine the businesses that come out of that state of depression and repression. It's not, and then imagine what that offspring births, whether it's actually or professionally or intimately or otherwise. I'm saying baby, because I think that this is also like baby shower. Oh, no, I think this is like, not baby shower vibes, is it? No, it's like bridal shower vibes, this energy here. So that even makes sense, that there's a celebration of a divine union that's already commenced in the spiritual realm because of the way that divine beings, feminine and masculine, are just being exalted energetically to their highest power. It's allowing for these unions to finally come into alignment. Even if you're with somebody, maybe your commitment and your co-creativity is being taken to a new level, whether it actually be marriage or whether it just be some new expansion of your commitment together, that you're building a business together, or you're moving, you're both elevating financially or intellectually. There's some advancement of co-creation and procreation that is being celebrated and exalted in the land according to the willingness to be operative in the divine power to do so, meaning you have the power to bring that exaltation into existence, So let's see what else we got. Just a few more. I feel like I've just been talking and talking. Yeah, and this is like past life love or even past experience love. But the truth of the matter. Let me take a sip of tea. And given we're in this Venus retrograde energy, this makes a lot of sense. That you're, and then, oh, look at that. And then the Four of Wands at the bottom. Yeah, this is very positive, I think. That this is maybe even the reconnection of loves past, whether they be in this lifetime or in the last or the one before that, if you believe in that. And you don't have to for this to still make sense to you, because it just could be a past experience of connection, co-creation, procreation, commitment, whatever, whatever the connection might be, that has a familiar essence to it, but now is coming in its upright form. It's being revisited. This implies that there's been some great challenge and charge that was overcome to come into this stable union of sorts. And this is the representation of it evolving in the earth in a very actual and practical way. This is more the energy of it, like the spiritual essence of it that was ordained before it even came to be. Because as much as it could be written, it still is up to us to be the active agents in the earth to manifest it, And with these two cards together, I think it's very positive. The reflection of this is the truth, the integrity of those relationships being reignited or in reunion, as I said, being reunited, and there being a celebration for the integrity and honor of those commitments being realigned in their highest form, not old toxic boyfriends and girlfriends that are coming back to hash it out one more time, claiming to be changed and claiming to have seen the error of their ways. And because the Knight of Cups, sometimes if it wasn't for the surrounding energies, the Knight of Cups can always be a question mark, and I would say still is, in a sense, that even those that may be coming to you, whether they are from the past or just a present new love energy or new proposition, is still to be considered and channeled through your divine self, like your divine channels and the standard in which you are in expectation to receive at this time, regarding yourself as an exalted force in the earth. Pardon me, who they once knew you to be, given all this energy here, all this evidence here, is not who you are anymore. Hopefully you both have evolved, and in order for it to, and now it's raining, in order for it to truly be an exalted union, you would have both had to evolve in some way, shape, or form. Maybe not in the exact ways that you both needed to grow, because remember, this guy was in the Five of Cups. The feminine energy was in the Eight of Swords. Two different suits, two different numbers, two different worlds of despair, but still being called to this singular evolution of power from source, So if that energy isn't able to prove that standard of evolution, or having to have kind of passed the universal tests of their own in some way, and they may look changed, it may look like a knight in shining armor, but it's the exhibition truly of action, the action behind the action literally behind those emotions that is going to really exemplify the truth. Love is the action word, so it says, and it's not just about how someone can make you feel, because someone that has a familiar connection to you, that maybe even knows you from a time before, may be able to impress a certain feeling on you or manipulate a certain emotion that's familiar enough to kind of pull on that comfort that you once knew, that is inviting, that's even a temptation of sorts, especially if you're in a position where you're in expectation for union and open, as opposed to her, open to the possibilities of being in a commitment. Just don't take the first thing coming, no matter how familiar it looks, no matter how valiant it may present itself to be, no matter how tantalizing and tempting that Ace of Wands may even be. And, perhaps the person could have evolved and changed and made all the right moves in his or her own life to present themselves as a viable candidate. It still doesn't necessarily mean that it's the person, place, or thing for you. It may be for someone else or for another timeline or another lifetime, perhaps. So it's just really important. To me, this energy is saying that it's very promising that there's some proposition on the way that is vibrating highly in truth and in passion, pure passion and divine truth. That is something that you can be open to, especially if you're already in a position to be discerning about the things that you're not open to, and you're already in alignment with your highest self and looking to attract nothing less than that. Then you can be open to something that may be coming back around, perhaps, but just be discerning still that it's in alignment with what you want holistically, and that you're not just settling for the sake of, carnal satisfaction. Literally, carnal satisfaction. Sex. I feel the need to spell that out. No sex in the champagne room right now. No meaningless sex right now. Yeah, empress status. The empress ain't doing that. The stakes are too high out here. And here's the King of Swords. That's a man of truth and integrity, I would say, in this sense. That someone that is in the upright, he's honorable, can be trusted, trustworthy, can express himself clearly and openly, in a sense. We hope, you know what I mean? Like you can rest in that. This is like being in a restful state, not being anxious for anything is how I'm picking it up now. You're not, especially as a feminine energy, you're not out on the prowl looking for anything. And maybe this is connected to that, what I just said about, no casual casualties right now. Maybe not ever anymore. I don't know. That's your business. But as for me and my house, shop is closed until, the right one presents himself. The right one truly presents himself and is, handed over on the silver platter from the divine. That's where I'm at with mine, and have been for some years now, literally. So, that's the vibration that I feel most comfortable in, because, just to be candid, it's rough out here, and they're not just sexually transmitted diseases. There are spiritually transmitted diseases that are far more fatal than the sexual ones, because you could take an antibiotic or a pill or whatever you need to do to get rid of that, but a spiritually transmitted disease can last you a lifetime, and it can literally cost you your life to align with the wrong energy, and to be hooked up with some unholy entity, that means no good, and before you know it, your body is completely, and your spirit, more importantly, is completely overtaken with chaos and confusion, and that surely begots physical disease, dis-ease, literally. It goes from the emotional and spiritual thing to an actual physical dis-ease, which coincidentally can also be an inflection of this card here, in the physical sense of dis-ease by way of genitalias. I don't know why I'm going into all that, truly, because it has it's of no value to me right now, and I hope it's no value to you. But the King of Swords is here right now in an upright position, and integrity being a representation of a man of valor is what I hear. Like, even the inflection of this knight here, even though they're different suits, but not just, giving all the love vibes and finessing energetically and emotionally, but is literally going to have some truth and something, grounding to build that foundation upon. That's what you're waiting for in this day and age. And it would be perfectly understandable to be in this blocked and resistant state of being, not eager for anything, in a moving meditation of rest and meditation, and waiting and patience for that energy to show itself, especially in the feminine energy, or for as if in a man's perspective. Still, I would say, still being in a space of moving meditation and prayer and peace, waiting for that divine feminine to show herself, to present herself in a way, not that she should be chasing you, because I'm traditional that way, that I don't think that's how it necessarily should go, unless that's just how it works in your dynamic. But not having the expectation to be chased per se, but not out there chasing every skirt, and calling yourself trying to, scratch and sniff and find a divine feminine under every nook and cranny, because that's not the way either. There has to be some, I guess this is what is giving me like spiritual reservation of your energy, of your energetic force, which is a reverence of sorts for the sanctity of your soul, and that it's just not something that should be just, thrown around or spread around. Even in this energy here, this Three of Cups is still questionable, that it shouldn't be spread thin across the land, across many other energies, and that there should be some you should treat your energy as something truly sacred now more than ever before. Once upon a time, we all had a good time in some regard or another, but that there definitely needs to be some reservation about your energy in every sense of the word, in every way, shape, and form now, to just be very careful how you're committing it or connecting it otherwise, and I think I'm just gonna say, oh shit. Because of that, god damn, that's why. Let me take a sip. Child, because the devil is lurking. He out here, and he looks like pretty ladies, fine ass men. He looks like, the dream job. He looks like a prized position of power. It looks like that house and car that you just gotta have, and you won't rest until you do. These are all the material essences that we expend our energy on and upon frivolously, encouraged, in fact, by this energy, back to this force up here, where we're being bombarded every day with ideals that fuel our obsessions with ourselves and with other people, places, and things, and our limitations of who we are and what we're not, and what we're worthy of or not, and what we're deserving of or not, with our addictions, the things that we latch on to help us self-soothe and self-medicate through these feelings of depression and depletion and illusion and psychological warfare, even, is what I hear. We reach for things to help us cope through those experiences. This is why it's important to stay reserved, because the devil energy, that adverse energy, which is more persistent within you than it is outside of you, honestly. You first have to slay some demons on the inside, and before you can even really be, equipped and prepared for what's coming at you from the outside in. And when you have positioned yourself by that inner light and inner surrender, to your ultimate force, It's new levels, new devils. And you really, I guess that's why I'm saying this, is because it's really important that you probably release the ideals of what adverse energy may have looked like or felt like in the past, and be open to conceiving it or perceiving it, not conceive it, don't conceive it, but perceiving it, seeing it for what it is in a new way. And as I said, it has many faces, and it actually is more subtle of a spirit than anything, honestly, because it's just that subtle whisper in the ear, to have a one night stand because you're bored or you're lonely, or to have that extra drink because you want to escape how you're feeling, or, to entertain this past relationship because you ain't got nothing else better to do, and no one else better to do for that matter. And it's just for right now, for a good time, but it's not a long time. It's not contributing to your destiny. It's working, taking that job that is not at all in alignment with your values, with who you see yourself to be and who you want to project yourself to be beyond this point. But the money is hella good. It's in those subtle ways that we can get locked into a cycle that we really have worked very hard to leave behind, and all of a sudden we're clenched back in, and before we know it, we're looking up and we're depressed and depleted all over again, and we don't even realize how, because it was just for now, it was just for this or for that, not for a long time, or it didn't really mean that much, or it wasn't that harmful. These are the energies. So I guess I'm just saying that to say, stay in this position here until something has proven itself to match your vibration, to match your fly, to match your essence, to, no matter if you've seen it before or not, if it's not in alignment with your truth of integrity and the value of exalted creativity that you have cultivated at this point, it's a no thank you. Next, thank you next, right? As Ariana Grande says, you're moving on. So y'all be careful out there, you hear? The devil is lurking, especially if you're in a position of strength and power and courage right now, which Leo season is all about that. You should be. If you're not, it will almost be strange if you weren't, but definitely continue to cultivate that energy of creativity and courage, and let it carry out in the ways that you project yourself, and especially in the ways that you protect yourself, if you know what I mean. Wink, wink. All right, that's it. Until next time. Peace.